Hi, what's up, buddy?
Hey man, real quick, just wanted to, as always, let everybody know there's a new edition of the Pragmatic Papers out. It's a real good one. Um, it's a little bit shorter than normal, but the articles in them are really great. I know you don't like breaking news. I mentioned it last time, but the Israel-Iran thing has been going on and it's been getting a little bit more intense. Demosthenes Rex does a really good job of going over at length kind of the background that led up to this and kind of the attitudes behind all the parties involved. So you guys should really check that one out. There's a great breakdown by Menu False of the assassination of the Minnesota politicians. And then another really good one was by Reason Riffs about the new Syrian regime that's been taking over and kind of an analysis of who they are, what kind of government they're setting up, and kind of what to expect from them. So it'd be really great if everybody go check them out and support. We also wanted to say thanks to everybody that donated to us. Even the little bit that y'all did really helps. We're trying to set up a new website and do some other really cool stuff. We really appreciate all the support from the community. Also, big shout out to Jimzar for my super cool profile pic that y'all can see it there. That's me.
Nice, cute.
Yeah. Okay. Now that my contractual obligations are out of the way, did you see? You didn't. You didn't see that Ninth Circuit reversing the TRO in California regarding the National Guard deployment?
I think I read a thing on it, but I saw a
Okay.
headline on it, but I don't know any of the details about it.
Okay. We don't need to get into the super fine details on it, but they essentially kind of did the same thing as um, the Supreme Court with the American Enemies Act, where they say, "Oh, the president declared there was a insurrection. We
Hmm.
can't review that, and so therefore the TRO is going to get overturned."
Okay.
And I want your opinion on how you feel about the president having these kind of statements that they can make that are just entirely beyond judicial review. Do you think that that's something that should exist in our government, or like should exist in a good structure of a government, that we have so that the president can just kind of say something exists and it's just beyond
When
judicial
you present
review?
it that way, no. But I think with the way that it works here, I would say probably yes, because it sounds like this was expressly granted to him from an act of Congress. And they even, I think, gave their own limitations to it. But I think the Congress has chosen not to enact their own restrictions on the president's declarations of emergencies and everything here. So, I mean, like, obviously, I don't like Trump's declarations here, but it seems like this was literally a law from Congress. Congress even granted themselves some authority to review the presidential declarations, and they've decided to forego that. So I don't know if it would be appropriate for a judge to step in here to try to do that.
So I think it's easy for me to agree with you on the whenever we're talking about like in the moment, we're
Hmm.
talking about he declares it, he's deploying, he's taking care of it, right? If there was a true invasion or insurrection, I think it's hard to make a case that a judge should be able to step in and make some kind of decision. But let's say we are 3 months past whenever this conflict is, or this apparent emergency is over,
Hmm.
and California shows up and says, "Hey, that was not an insurrection. Here's problems that happened because of his actions, and we have a cause of action now against the president for doing those wrong
Well,
things."
who's to say what an insurrection is or not?
Well, I think in the moment, it makes sense that we can't, because remember, the courts are saying we can't look at the factual allegations behind the claim of the insurrection. So if he says
Hmm.
there's an insurrection because there's a million people rising up in LA and we've got to go stop them,
Yeah.
and then 3 months later we say, well, wait, there's only 1,000 people, right? And that should not have constituted the response, right? I think at that point, whenever the dust is settled, we can come in and we're not talking about getting in the way of the president's enactment of power, but saying maybe there's liability afterwards for an improper enactment of power. Do you think that there's space for something like that, or do you see downsides?
Intuitively, no. It doesn't sound like it, no. Because the idea
Okay.
is you wouldn't want the president being worried that a court is going to second guess his insurrection declaration, right?
Well, sure. To me, I see the balance of, am I more worried about a president second guessing himself about an insurrection declaration, or am I more worried about a president abusing an unimpeachable declaration of insurrection? Like, what are those two things? Which one
So
is the
this
more
is the
scary
big this
thing?
is the big issue that we have right now that I think people need to be very careful about is like I say that Trump is like a dictator and all this bullshit, and I say that over and over again. But the issue that we have right now is that Trump did not seize power in a way that was unpopular. Trump has the support of apparently half of American voters right now, and that's where a lot of our issues are coming from. So if you ask me, just looking at the American system, am I worried about the president just arbitrarily declaring insurrections and abusing that power? The easy and instantaneous answer is no, I would never be worried about that, because we have a very easy mechanism to instantly hold a president accountable for that, which is impeachment at the very least, if not Congress using whatever was built into that act to say, well, we reviewed this and actually we don't agree this is an insurrection, because I think they have that on the Alien Enemies Act. And I think they have that on the other one that he was using for terrorists. I think they have these built in. But the issue is, well, what do you do if half of America supports it, and therefore over half of the Congress supports it, and then the president does it? Well, I mean, at this point, are we looking for the judiciary to stop it? Probably not. I don't think so. I think Trump has the popular support for this. Congress is our mechanism to stop it, and Congress isn't doing it. They're failing their job, or maybe they're succeeding their job. I guess it depends on how you view it. And so I think it is as it is. It sucks, but that's, yeah.
That's fair. I just, in my mind, whenever I'm thinking about it, kind of a bit of a macro sense, it feels a little bit like the Congress is creating a power, handing it to the president, and then saying, well, the judiciary can't get involved. And then whenever we come to this kind of place where we're saying, okay, well, now we need someone to check this, the Congress says, oh, well, we're hands off, or we haven't put the right measures in there.
But it's not so much that we're asking somebody to check it. It's that we're asking to get a procedural thing from the judiciary that probably should have been further clarified by the Congress. Because we're not asking for a check on, can he actually do this? We're asking for like a definitional procedural check on, was this actually an insurrection? And it sounds like that's something that maybe Congress should have had a stricter definition for that in the actual piece of legislation or something. But absent that, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's up to the judiciary to check that. I mean, if Trump has the power granted to him from the Congress and they pass that law and they're not doing anything about it, then
even in a retrospective case assessing damages from a potential misuse of power, you think even that is too far of a restraint from because in that case, right, I'm not saying that doesn't remove any of Trump's powers. It would just make it so that a person would be owed restitution by the government for a misuse of power, right? This happens in civil rights cases and things like that, and we have cases in which the government abuses power. People then have a cause of action to come in and sue for damages and get paid because the government misused the powers they were granted.
I think those are generally very exceptional cases, though, right? It's pretty rare that the government can be held civilly liable as long as it's exercising its power. Like those are generally you're talking about where people are stepping outside of like their civil immunity or stepping outside of something and doing something either illegal or I think generally illegal. So against the law, not necessarily the government just doing a thing.
Sure.
Like, yeah.
Sure, but I mean, I think that whenever I look at the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, at least spiritually nowadays, the purpose of it is as a literal check on an abuse of power. It feels like we as a nation have, at least in the past, I don't know anymore, a concept of there's an abuse of power by the government, and there needs to be a severe check to it. There needs to be something there, and I feel like I agree with you. I do actually really agree with you that the Congress impeaching the president is a true check and does address this. However, the fact that we have these three branches and it feels like the judiciary is being really cut out of a lot of this is a little unsettling me in the sense of in a perfect world where we after a perfect post-Trump world in which we're reforming to make sure this never happens again. To me, I see that is an area where something could be at least done or changed. So
I mean, you could rewrite these laws or amend these laws in ways that add some more qualifiers. But the reality is there's probably not much you can do if half the country is willing to support a guy who's actually a dictator, and then half the Congress is willing to support a guy who's actually a dictator, which is where we're at right now. I mean, what are you going to do, right?
I have no argument against he's just got a at least facially populist mandate to just kind of do whatever he wants. Okay, then. I feel like we talk too much about politics and doomer stuff. I believe you style yourself as a pretty good debater, right?
I try to be.
Okay. Are you confident in your ability to argue positions that you don't personally hold?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if it's related to a topic where I have a position that I do passionately hold, but I'm not for like random stuff that I don't know anything about, right?
Sure. Okay. Can you help me? I'm trying to kind of build out a a debate or an argument against veganism, do you mind being a pro-vegan debate partner with me?
Sure, we can do it for a couple minutes. Go for it.
Yeah, this isn't gonna take long. This isn't gonna take long. Okay. So what I've seen in the past, so my argument stems from the idea that there really isn't any moral reason to not eat people, right? Because I feel like what I see a lot of vegans do is they say it's immoral to eat people, but we think it's moral, or at least it's a morally neutral thing to eat animals, and that's wrong. We should consider it immoral to eat animals. Is that a misstatement of a
I mean, that's
vegan
starting to
position?
get there. I mean, I think most vegans would just say that, like, they would just say that that argument is fine, but then they would say that you're insane because the vast majority of people would never be okay in a world where you can eat other people, right?
Well, but we no. We already live in that world. We live in a world where it's okay to eat people. It just has to be the right circumstance, right? You have to be in a situation in which the necessity exists such that it would overcome your empathy for another person. And this is true for other animals too. We don't eat dogs generally.
Hold on, wait.
What's
What
that?
are the circumstances where it's okay to eat people?
If you and I were in a lifeboat, okay, and we had no food, and it was probably 30 days to shore, and we would probably die if we didn't eat anything, and there was a fresh corpse in the boat.
Okay, I
are you
feel
saying
like
you wouldn't eat that boat?
sure. So
Eat
that might be the
corpse?
case, but I feel like
Don't eat the boat.
I don't feel like this is an actual test of any moral principles because I think if you wanted to, you could like the qualifiers that you're adding there, like you're going to die otherwise. You could basically make anything morally permissible. Right? Like, should we be allowed to kill inconvenient 8-year-olds? I would say, well, no. And it's like, okay, well, what if you were in a survival situation where there was only 3 of you, 2 adults and an 8-year-old, and you only had enough like food to survive for 30 days if you killed one of you, like in that case, and you need both people to row the boat or whatever, can you kill the 8-year-old? Okay, I guess in this situation you can, but like we wouldn't take that moral rule and then say, well, I guess it must be okay to kill 8-year-olds in certain circumstances then, because the amount of qualifiers you've added are so special that you would never generalize that rule to all of society, right?
Well, 1 second. But okay. In America, we generally don't eat dogs, right?
Sure.
Is there any moral reason why we don't eat dogs?
We like dogs and they're cute.
Oh, I don't think that's a moral reason. I think that's like an empathetic reason.
Sure.
There's
Most
empathy there.
most vegans would agree with that, though. Vegans would actually start their arguments there. Have you ever seen videos of cows? Why would you not eat a dog, but you would eat a cow? Cows are just as cute, right? They would start from there. Yeah.
Well, they might say that, but my argument is that it's easier for us to empathize with dogs and cats. There's even studies on it showing that they share similarities to human children, such that it allows us to empathize with them greater than, say, other animals. And
Yeah, but I mean, you could also
it's-
we empathize with people who are more similar to us than not, and that's why slavery was possible. But that's not a moral
Right.
argument for slavery.
It's not a moral argument for slavery, but the reason that slavery is wrong, though, I can talk about things like people should have the right to freedom, people should have the right to liberty, and things like that. A corpse doesn't have any of those rights, and I'm not violating a human corpse's rights by eating it.
Sure.
And I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying we should kill people and eat them. I'm saying just eating a human body. That's all, not killing and eating a person.
Sure. I don't think vegans would be opposed principally to eating an animal corpse, right?
Sure, but so then the issue is like, why is it okay for us? So is it more just that the vegans would be arguing it's wrong that we are raising, killing, and then eating the animals? Eating the animals is just a result of the bad action of raising and killing an animal for eating.
Yeah, it's part of the ecosystem, right?
Okay. So then I've seen also a kind of a name the trait argument kind of thing that they do, and they seem to do they rely on consciousness, or is that just where it always ends up? Or do they usually use a different thing for the
Name
trait?
the
of,
trait
like-
is going to be the one because a lot of people try to draw a meaningful distinction between animal sentience and human sentience. And the problem is it's hard to create an all-encompassing category that would include every human because people intuitively feel like the category of human is something that should be protected that would exclude every animal because people seem to feel like animals are a category that can be excluded. So name the trait will run down what's every trait necessary to guarantee human privilege that doesn't also apply to some category of animal that we eat.
Right. So like, and this is just the lawyer brain here. For me, if I was asked that question, it's just that humans can have intent and animals can't. And I mean that in a legal definition. In the sense that animals are considered to not be able to possess intent to actually do things. They have
Sure.
instinct.
Although I'd be
and they
careful
can
on this
understand
one.
consequences.
The
Go
counter
ahead.
here, and you know this as well, right, is the reason why children, for instance, aren't sentenced to capital offenses is because they're said not to possess the mental faculty to even have the mens rea to commit like acts that are so horrible that they would be sentenced to death for. Like a 12-year-old is said in all states to not be able to possess enough state of mind to have the intent to commit first-degree murder, and that's why they're not charged with those crimes, right? And I think we would roughly agree with that. Like an 8-year-old can't first degree murder someone, because an 8-year-old, no offense to 8-year-olds, they don't even really know what like death and life means. They're retarded, they're kids, right? But we wouldn't say it's okay to eat
Sure.
children.
Yeah, but our our attitudes towards intent and people being able to possess intent isn't a binary of we eat them or don't eat them, right? And also, I would say that I mean, I would make the argument of actually I would say that the children argument doesn't make sense. Children can possess intent. It's just whether or not we ascribe to them the ability to have the intent such that we could charge them criminally. We still have intent more than what any animal has.
Possibly. I mean, when you're at a low age, like I would say, like below the age of like 1, I don't think we ascribe much intent to like or
sure,
whatever you call the age
like
before toddlers, like infants or whatever. We don't ascribe much intent to them. Like if they throw something at somebody, or if they hit you in the face, you're just like, oh, the kid's being stupid. It's just a kid, or it's a baby. Right?
But see, in that sense, then I would just kind of default back to kind of the empathy thing, where it's just like, since we're able to empathize such with a child, and the necessity to eat is not there, such that we would need to eat the child, then that's why we don't eat them. It doesn't have anything to do. Then at that point, it's really not the intent.
Yeah, but if you opt to the necessity argument, all vegans would say it's not a necessity to eat animals. We could live off of
but it's it's like a supply and demand graph, right? As your empathy goes down, your necessity also goes down. For the amount of necessity to eat goes down for you to eat that animal, right?
Sure.
I don't empathize very much with cows, so I don't need that high of a necessity to eat a cow.
That's a system that you could generate, but they would probably start throwing hypotheticals at you, and you could bite the bullet on them, but it's going to be very morally unintuitive things. Like if you had a group of people who were all starving, and somebody there had a dog and somebody else had a child, and there were other people, like you're going to have to get very, very, very close to would be willing to eat a child in order to eat the dog. Like most people are going to view their animals as children. Some people even view animals as better than children, because animals, in a silly way, we don't view them as having agency. So we don't view them as moral agencies. So we don't ever view them as being bad. Like people have a default position for animals as infants, where all of them are by default unable to be bad, so they're innocent. So a lot of people would have to be pushed basically up to the point to where they'd eat a human to eat their animal, I think.
Sure. And I think that like that makes sense, but also I would say that doesn't necessarily, it's not really a defeater for me in the sense of like,
well, it's a defeater for mass animal agriculture, because they would say that we're nowhere near. Like a vegan might even just concede to you. A vegan would just say, yeah, I guess if people only ate animals and they were pushed up to that like survival threshold, then that would be a much better world than the one we live in now.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess necessity is actually a bad word to use there. It's not necessarily, I'm not really saying it's like a survival necessity threshold. It's just like the amount of empathy that I have for this thing means I don't give a shit up to a certain point.
Sure.
And then I can eat it and I'm fine. But yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Thanks. I was just kind of thinking along those lines, because I've been watching a little bit of your backlog, and you keep running into vegans for some reason in my YouTube feed, and I was like, man, this is weird. So yeah.
I mean, there's Ask Yourself used to have, I think they still have the Discord server. If you ever want to debate vegans, there's like 1 million vegans in there that are always ready to throw down. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll check them out. That sounds good. All right. Well, I appreciate you chatting with me. Everybody in chat, love y'all. And you have a great rest of your day. Again, thanks, Gemzar, for the awesome profile pic. You rock.
Wait, is it Gemzar or Gemzar?
Is it Gemzar? He didn't talk to me like voice chat. We just texted, and then he just threw this amazing artwork at me. So, okay. Mr. Gamezar, thank you so much.
All right. Have fun. Be careful.
Love you. Bye.
Fox News signed Brett Cooper. Interesting. Good luck, Brett.
I did not do shit. I took a step. I had to pull up my pants. It's about to cut my pizza. Over here about to get a knife. No scissors around. And commander just falls off. I didn't do nothing, bro. Oh my God, bro. I did not do nothing. Bro, what'd I do? Bro, I'm afraid to step, bro. I ain't do nothing. I'm out of it.
Why is this even posted?
Shut.
Okay. This will always be my favorite fucking Vosh clip. My God.
for me to actually politically represent my interests.
I'm not. My point here ain't about criticizing your vote. It's that only 2 people were going to be president, and there were only 2 real paths to FBI.
No. But those are 2 different. But Vosh, I want to be really clear here. You said there were 2 for me to actually politically represent my interests.
I'm not. My point here ain't about criticizing your vote. It's that only 2 people were going to be president, and there were only 2.
Zoran is not Muslim. He is a 12er Shia, like the Iranian regime. Isn't a 12er Shia? Isn't that a Muslim? Isn't that a sect of Islam? Please, Zoran, don't be the new AOC. We're going to have to accept that he's going to do things we won't like. He's in a position that requires compromise sometimes. If he doesn't defund the NYPD and call for all landlords to be beheaded in the next week. Jesus. I think he's kind of joking here, but...
This is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. So, this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Okay. Shia are considered not Muslim by Sunnis. Sunnis are the majority of Muslims anyways. Okay, and some fucking Christian cringers say Catholics aren't Christian. I mean, I'm pretty sure Shia are Muslim. What do you mean? Most Shias are not Muslim. They don't believe in the hadiths. And none of them? I thought it was like different. I think there are some hadiths that everybody basically believes in, and then there are some that different sects of Islam believe in. Shia doesn't believe in any hadiths at all? The Shia school is very rich in terms of reliable hadith collections, thanks to the ahadith of the holy prophets and his pure progeny, Muhammad, peace be upon him. The infallible imams, peace be upon them, are the closest people to the holy prophet in terms of position and time. They are inerrant and infallible, and they are profuse. There are profuse narrations quoted from them in Shia's hadith books. Some of Shia's major hadith collections that are considered to be reliable are the following. Al-Kafi, authored by Thikatul Islam, Muhammad bin Yaqub Kulani. Al-Tazib, authored by Sheikh Tusi, may Allah bless him. Okay, fuck you. Hadiths aren't part of the Quran, the only holy book. That is the belief in Shia, I believe. Sunnis don't think that hadiths are part of the Quran either, though. Okay. Stop! Don't, if you're not. Stop being cringe. Wait. Bump, bump. Fuck. I started to save my reels. Sometimes there's good ass reels out there. Never mind, we're not gonna watch these. I'm not making you do this. Okay. Quick Vosh clip, fuck it.
Simon says put your hands on the wheel. Simon says reach into your back pocket and retrieve your wallet so you can show me your ID. Quick, now bring me that ID. I didn't say Simon says. Simon says put your hands on the wheel.
Thanks.
Go ahead, right in the back. Yeah, you tall one. The tall man.
Mr. President, Johannes Petra from Austrian National Television.
How are you?
You once said that you would end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. You later said that sarcastically.
Well, of course it was sarcastic.
But you've now been in office for 5
Of course that was sarcastic.
months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly. We ended Rwanda and the...
Didn't he already say this? Was it a truth or was it a quote from him a few months ago? Didn't he say Ukraine and Russia is more difficult than anyone could have imagined or something?
Rwanda and the Congo. It's coming to sign the documents. We've already signed basic documents, but they're coming, I think, to the White House on Friday. We ended, Serbia was going to go at it. But maybe the most important of all, India and Pakistan. And that wasn't whether or not they may someday have nukes like we're talking about in...
Off topic, are you going to research the Armenian genocide? Yeah, I've started reading on my own. Maybe I'll do it on stream. That shit's crazy, dog.
The Middle East, like we're talking about with Israel and Iran. This is, they have nuclear weapons. I ended that with a series of phone calls on trade.
Yeah, did you?
6 to base. I'm just on lunch break. I'll be back.
My friend. Fresh hummus, sauce, bread, and falafel.
Oh, okay, I've been meaning to try this Arab food. I heard it's pretty good.
The best in the West, my friend. How is the food, my friend?
Alhamdulillah.
Here you go, my friend. Shawarma and mango juice.
Bismillah. Wallahi, Alhamdulillah.
Based. Now you can go from beating black people to beating women. Just kidding. Video games. Woman throws speaker off a ship in Greece. Oh shit, wait, she didn't throw that. She fucking launched that. Wait, what? Oh my god, and they have the Jew flag here. Woo! There it goes. That's a Blue Lives Matter flag? Oh shit, my bad. 18-year-old teen jumped off a cruise ship because of a dare and was never seen again.
This kid fucking jumped off! Oh my fucking god! Oh, bye-bye! Oh shit! That's it! Hey, the buoy!
Did he die? We don't know. He was never found again.
Yo, this kid's fucking gone, bro.
There's a really scary video. Did we watch this on stream where like once you're like a 100 yards or something away from a ship, a person is like invisible. Like even in daylight, it's very hard to see people. And then at night, you're just like gone forever. You're just completely gonzo. Oh, this was good. The best Trump clip. One of the best Trump clips of all time.
Concern out there. People are worried. Even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So How do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before.
Actually, you did sign up for it. Okay, 2 more of these. What is this? Wait, I assumed Theo Von had some sort of justification for charging this dude, but it seems like he's just maybe not a good person.
Hey, I'm the fan who got choked out by Theo Von.
Hi.
Let me tell you what actually happened.
Okay.
So I'm not just a random fan. I live in Nashville. I play music full time.
Okay, okay.
All of this happened on May 2nd.
Okay.
See right there.
Yeah?
Which also happened to be my birthday.
Okay.
I had my gig from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. My friends brought me cake. They brought me balloons. The bar brought me sparklers. So when Theo walked in, he didn't have any security with him. So people were walking up to him, talking to him, taking photos. I finished my show. This was like 10:18. Nobody in my party had talked to him yet, not even me. We thought it would be a funny video idea to get him and me popping my birthday balloons together because he's a comedian. I was trying to be courteous because he was talking to somebody at the moment. So in this next video, you can actually hear me say, I don't want to interrupt their conversation. I was waiting my turn to talk to him. Everybody was all just standing around, having fun, having a good time. Nobody was bothering anybody. I mean, I'll show you the full video. That's the guy I was waiting for, who I didn't want to interrupt.
What's the guy? Wait.
That's the guy
Oh, I see, okay.
I was waiting for, who I didn't want to interrupt. This is where the video that you've seen starts. I went up and I said, will you pop some balloons with me? He turned away and looked like I said something offensive. I leaned in and said, hey man, I'm a fan, I'm just messing with you. He turned back around and then aggressively got in my face right there. I was confused, so you can see me lean in and say, what? And that's when he grabbed my throat and shoved me back. What happened was he turned away and... This is where the video that you've seen starts. I went up and I said, will you pop some balloons with me? He turned away and looked like I...
Fuck. Is there a video where the audio plays?
This is where the video that you've seen starts. I went up and I said, will you pop some balloons with me? He turned away and looked like I said something offensive. I leaned in and said, hey man, I'm a fan, I'm just messing with you. He turned back around and then aggressively got in my face right there. I was confused, so you can see me lean in and say, what? And that's when he grabbed my throat and shoved me back. What happened?
Grab my throat and shove me back is a little bit... I mean, he kind of does. Fuck. I don't know how drunk any of the people involved are. I feel like you need to know a lot about this interaction. I feel like Theo jumped off a little bit, but
this is where
if he's leaning in and talking to him here and he's asking him something,
this is where the video that
like, hey, like, can you do something for me, or can we like take a can we take a picture? Can we do something?
You've seen starts. I went up and I said,
if he says here like, no, sorry, I'm busy or whatever, or he says something, I don't know.
Balloons with me. He
and then he
turned away and looked
turns away to leave
said something
or talk.
I leaned
and then he touches his shoulder
and said, hey,
and he's
man,
like, hey, come back. And then he
I'm a fan, I'm just messing with you.
Says something else here. I don't know, like that re-engagement is a big.
He turned back around and then
they chat a little bit, but I don't know what's being said here. It's hard because I can't hear anything. But the guy, even after he says something, then he leans back, the guy is still kind of.
I was confused, so you can see.
And then he says something, but we can't hear anything being said here. And then he pushes him back.
Grabbed my throat and shoved me back. What happened?
But it's really hard without hearing anything here. I feel like Theo is probably not in the right, maybe almost no matter what. But it ranges from being like understandable to really bad. It's just hard to, without hearing any of the audio here, it's hard to say.
The video that you've seen starts. I went up and I said, will you pop some balloons with me? He turned away and looked like I said something offensive. I leaned in and said, hey man, I'm a fan, I'm just messing with you. He turned back around and then aggressively got in my face right there. I was confused, so you can see me lean in and say, "What?" And that's when he grabbed my throat and shoved me back. What happened was a completely uncalled for reaction, especially when you consider the facts that nobody in my party had been badgering him for hours. We hadn't even talked to him. This was a 14-second interaction, and that was it. As an entertainer in downtown Nashville, I get being overwhelmed by crowds and people coming up to you all the time. At the end of my shift, at least I get to unplug and go home. And, you know, I feel for Theo where he probably can't get away from that a lot more easily than I can. I'm post-surgery. I was 1 week back from recovery. This could have ended my career, but luckily there was no damage to my vocal cords or neck. I'm not trying to get any sympathy or anything out of this. I just want people to know that, you know, the celebrities that you see on camera can be completely different people in real life. You know, thank you for listening to the truth.
Different video. Give us an example of what a fan would need to say to react like that. No, this is you either know or you don't. If somebody is not interested in talking to you and they turn away and then you put your hand on their shoulder to bring them back to talk to you again, in my opinion, at that point, you're like in ass whooping territory, or you should be like prepared for that. It's just a big like personal space thing, and especially if the guy has already like rejected like talking to you, you should understand that that's what you're signing up for. If you're too autistic to understand that, then you just shouldn't talk to people like this or get a friend to do it. But I think that's going to be on the table for anybody that's especially like more physical. Like if it's a larger dude or whatever, it's probably gonna. Have you had any interactions like this with me doing the touching? No, because I'm not autistic as fuck. But
Jason dropped his fucking phone. Jason dropped his fucking phone.
what is she saying? Drop the fucking balloons?
Jason dropped his fucking phone.
Drop the fucking motor? I can't tell what she's saying. You have to drop the fucking balloons?
Jason dropped his fucking phone.
She's saying it so she can get a shot of his face. It just seems like a lot for like Theo is clearly saying no here, or he's not interested or whatever, and then he's going away. So like in his mind, that's the end of the interaction. But then this guy comes back, touches him, brings him back to talk to him again. Sounds like Theo is saying no again. Now it could be a misunderstanding. The music is loud and this guy just didn't hear it or understand it. And then they're talking, and then it sounds like Theo is saying no again. And then the guy like leans in. It sounds like here though the guy's saying huh, like he didn't hear him. I think I hear him saying huh, huh, and maybe Theo's interpreting that aggressively or whatever. I don't know, but and then he eventually pushes him back. But yeah, I don't know. Seems autistic. Seems autistic all around. Popping balloons is a druggy term too, and the dude used to be an addict. For what, doing poppers or? Oh, Nas. Nas. Theo thought the guy was doing a drug joke and got mad. I don't know. I mean, the guy's holding balloons. Although it could be an elaborate joke. I don't know. I think it's autistic to assume you can throw hands anytime there's a confusing moment with a potential personal space infraction in a loud, crowded club. This didn't even look remotely close to a loud, crowded club at all. There's like 4 people in the frame here. Looks like a few people around a table.
Jason, drop this.
Like, maybe loud, sure, but... The TMZ story reported that he harassed him. Well, they might... Are they just calling it harassment based on what this is? Do you know what poppers are? Alkylate nitrates or something? I don't know. People do it for getting fucked in the ass. But that's different than the, like, whippets or whatever. Which I think is nitrous oxide usually, I think. Theo Von was a no laughing me when he got his by the throat. Man holding balloons. Clearly antagonizing him. Jesus. Your point isn't that it's justified, just that you should expect it, no? Yeah, I mean, you probably shouldn't be that quick to attack somebody unless you, like, are identifying them as a threat or whatever. I think that's a pretty big escalation for no reason. But, like, if you get in somebody's face like that, I would expect that you would probably be ready for them to attack you. And if there's any question about Theo's intentions, one eyewitness tells TMZ he used crushing force. What is he, a fucking Superman? However, a source with direct knowledge tells us the guy with the balloons was with a group of people who had repeatedly harassed the comedian. That would change things a little bit. I mean, he still should just call the cops. I don't know why celebrities are ever getting into fights with people. It's not worth it. We're told they continued antagonizing Theo and used threatening language, saying they were trying to screw with him on camera. Is there any video footage of that? The altercation was down at 12:30 Club in Nashville. Activists in wheelchairs. Jesus.
You can look at a jewelry box. A jewelry box of this nature, maybe a simple jewelry box, but if you look through it closely, you don't know what your child may be hiding. For instance, a gun. Look at picture frames and behind them, cameras. Try to determine what's taking place. Behind a picture frame, you can find bullets. You should always, when your child bring in his popular knapsack with many different locations, look through it to see what exactly is your child carrying in addition to a book. Something simple as a crack pipe. Something simple as a baby doll. Could be just a baby doll, but also it could be a place where you can secrete or hide drugs. Run your hands over the pillows and see if you feel anything that's unusual. Like a pillow like this with a button is a perfect invitation to hide something. And
more crack pipes.
Bumpy. I will reach in, see what it is. Just look and see what's inside your bookcases. It could be more than just books. Perfect place to hide.
A little bit of crack, a little bit of cocaine. Wait, hold on.
hey, I'm the fan who got choked out by Theo Von. Let me tell you what actually happened. So I'm not just a random fan. I live in Nashville. I play music full time. That's me. All of this happened on May 2nd. You can see right there. Which also happened to be my birthday. I had my gig from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. My friends brought me cake. They brought me balloons. The bar brought me sparklers. So when Theo walked in, he didn't have any security with him. So people were walking up to him, talking to him, taking photos. I finished my show. This was like 10:18. Nobody in my party had talked to him yet, not even me. He thought it would be a funny video idea to get him and me popping my birthday balloons together because he's a comedian. I was trying to be courteous because he was talking to somebody at the moment, so in this next video you can actually hear me say, I don't want to interrupt the conversation. I was waiting my turn to talk to him. Everybody was all just standing around having fun, having a good time. Nobody was bothering anybody. I'll show you the full video. That's the guy I was waiting for who I didn't want to interrupt. This is where the video that you've seen starts. I went up and I said, will you pop some balloons with me? He turned away and looked like I said something offensive. I leaned in and said, hey man, I'm a fan, I'm just messing with you. He turned back around and then aggressively got in my face right there. I was confused, so you can see me lean in and say, what? And that's when he grabbed my throat and shoved me back. What happened was a completely uncalled for reaction, especially when you consider the facts that nobody in my party had been badgering him for hours. We hadn't even talked to him. This was a 14-second interaction and that was it. As an entertainer in downtown Nashville, I get being overwhelmed by crowds and people coming up to you all the time. At the end of my shift, at least I get... Completely uncalled.
Okay, well, I'm re-absorbing this.
Called for reaction, especially when you consider the facts that nobody in my party had been badgering him for hours.
Was that a misspeak, or was that an admission that they were going up to him and asking him questions earlier? That's a weird way to phrase that.
Especially when you consider the facts that nobody in my party had been badgering him for hours. We hadn't even talked to him. This was a 14-second...
Those two statements are contradictory. We hadn't even talked to him. Nobody had been badgering him for hours. It could just be like a casual, like, oh, we hadn't been badgering him for hours. We just talked to him for 14 seconds. It could mean that. But now I'm also thinking, like, how common is it? Is this a thing that people do where you pop balloons for your birthday? Now I'm trying to think of how specific this thing is. I've never in my life heard... Well, no, I've never in my life heard that before. But maybe some people do this? You pop balloons for your birthday? It's as common as fireplaces. Shut the fuck up. American thing? Well, I am American. It's an ethnic thing. I'm confused because he admits he was doing it to mess with him, but what's the joke there? Well, the joke is if this guy had a drug issue related to whatever drugs, and then the guy's like using drug slang? Is that though? But this is another thing. I don't do these drugs very often. Is pop balloon? Somebody in chat said pop balloons is drug slang. Is it? For what? For poppers or for whippets? Is that really? Let's go pop balloons to do whippets? I don't do whippets off. I've only done like 2 or 3 times in my life, so I don't know if that's. It's very common to have nitrous in balloons, but is that? Do people say that? Destiny, he's a nitrous addict. You can take nitrous in a balloon. Yeah, that's how I've done it before. You have a little can, you fill the balloon up, and then you woo. But but I don't know. I've never heard that slang before. Let's go pop balloons, or let's go do balloons or something. People do say sometimes, let's do some balloons. I don't know. It seems more like I'm understanding more how he feels like this guy's fucking with him, maybe. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know the policy at this bar. And I won't pretend to know the policy of this bar. I do know that, appealing infinitely to my casino experience, when we worked at the casino, if you were, now this is for employees, maybe not for invited like bands or whatever, but if you were an employee and if you ever got caught going up to, because sometimes celebrities would visit the bar, visit the casino, if you ever got caught going up to a celebrity and asking them for a picture and autograph, you would get fired on the spot. And that did happen to people, because if they're going to places like this, they just want to like have fun and chill. And sometimes they'll talk to you. And if you're like having a back and forth or whatever, and you like ask for a picture or something, then it's different. It's okay, because it's like part of the interaction. But you would never as an employee, you would get immediately fired for that. So it's kind of weird if this guy is literally in a band here. But also maybe it's not weird if it's just like a casual bar and this isn't like a celebrity club or anything, and the guy just wants a picture with Theo Von, it might not be that weird. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Need more information. Don't care. Dude, my mom found that 8th grade. Oh, no, sorry. Dude, my mom found that 1/8 of an ounce, right? You sold me. I got a snitch, bro. She's calling the cops right now. You're fucked. Dude, I'm stressed, bro. She was literally going to take away my PS4. You're probably going to jail. What the fuck, dude? I'm not going down alone, bro. Damn. Destiny, why would the birthday boy say it's just a joke if it wasn't joking with Nas? Why would the GF tell him to drop the balloons? I mean, that literally could go either way without us knowing, right? He could mean like it's just a joke, like I'm just joking about like the drug shit. Or he could mean like it's just a joke. You don't have to pop balloons with me. Can you just get a picture, right? That could literally go either way. We need like, there's no way you can divine the intent of that interaction or these statements when we can't even hear what they're saying, and then when we need more background information and everything. Yeah. He said, I'm just messing with you, which seems like he was kind of messing with him. Yeah, but messing with them how? You might not realize, like, do you understand how all of these can be read in two different ways? Like, imagine you go up to some dude and he's like imagine you go up to some guy and you're at a, fuck, I don't know, you're at a bar and the guy's like, fuck, I don't have my card on me, or I left my credit card, I can't pay for my drinks or whatever. And then a dude's next to you like, oh, what's up, man? Did you, your mom and dad here? And then the guy looks at you and the guy looks like real pissed off and you're like, I'm just fucking with you, dude. Like, it's not a big deal. But like, imagine this guy's parents died yesterday and he's like a popular guy it was Batman. And when you say it was just a joke, the guy doesn't know, like, are you joking with me as in like you're just joking because my parents died? Or were you just joking like you said a random thing to joke with me and you're not actually making a reference to my parents dying, right? That's what, because if Theo had a drug addiction or has drug addiction, the guy's like, oh, I was just messing with you, dude. The guy might not be aware that that's what he's signaling. He might not even be thinking about it. Maybe he's not a drug person at all. And he's like, oh, I was just messing with you about the balloon popping. But Theo thinks the guy's saying, oh, I'm just messing with you about your drug addiction issue, bro. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Who knows? My girlfriend has been using AI to write love letters to me. How should I feel? Based. Absolutely based. That's true love right there. It's basically just like shortcutting the AI girlfriend process. Oh shit, is this an emote now? Who's the guy doing emotes? Can you stop? Hold on. Can we make it a policy/rule to push chat updates at midnight or something when I'm not streaming? It's weird when chat updates are being pushed when I'm live and there are random words flying across the screen and then I realize I need to refresh a browser or something because an emote update was pushed. Okay. Why does it bother you though? Because it's annoying when I'm streaming and everybody's like screaming. I have to like refresh like 3 different chats or whatever because and I realize, oh, there was an emote update in the middle of the stream. Okay. What do we have? Court docs. Oh boy. Is it just the last two? Plaintiffs reply in support of motion. Plaintiffs reply in support of motion. Okay. Give me a sec, 1 second. Or use a restroom.